सतगुरु महाराज जी की जय, सच्चे दरबार की जय. When soul comes in this world and takes on a human form, a human birth, the purpose is to evolve. The purpose is to gain knowledge, understanding, gain more experience, and uplift. And we are given senses, mind, intellect, so we may evolve at a higher level than any other species. But when we are born and we see the outer world, we see the physical world, and our senses start to operate, we live our life under the command of our mind, intellect, guiding the senses and gathering all the information, the knowledge, and gaining the understanding of this physical world. And living that way, we are evolving, but we are evolving at a very, very slow rate. Whereas we do not have life long enough, so we may gain enough progress that the life's purpose would be fulfilled. We operate in life under our senses, our mind, and our intellect. And all of these things are limited. There is a limit to our mind's capacity to understand things. There's a limit to our intellect to think and to explore the possibilities of this world and life. And senses can go only so far. Their reach is only so far. It is like taking a pot and going to the ocean and filling up with the water. There's a limit how much you can take, because you cannot take more than what the space exists in that pot. Whatever size the pot is, only that much you can draw water from the ocean. Beyond that, even if you dip deep within the water, the pot will be unable to hold and everything will spill out. And at the end, when the pot will come out the ocean, only limited amount of water will be stored inside. Same exact way, when we are living our life according to the senses, the mind, and the intellect, then only so much of experience, so much of knowledge, and so much of wisdom can be gained. Because we have capacity, we cannot gather more than our capacity. But if one learns to go beyond the intellect, beyond the senses, and beyond the mind, then the wisdom, the knowledge, sky is the limit. There is no end. And that's where we can evolve at such a high rate and gain so much that we were born and given chance to gain. And only then life, God, and creation and God's law, divine law, can be understood. Only then we can say that I lived my life to the greatest potential that I possessed, that I was given when I came in this world. When we are living in this world, we want to gain success. We want to gain knowledge. Great intellectuals, great business people, they gain so much of knowledge, so much of wealth, so many of treasures. But at the end, what happens? Everything is lost. Everything that was gained in this world will remain behind. Nothing will go with us where eternity exists, because our soul is not limited to 50, 60, 80, 100 years. Soul is eternal. And after life, when we are in eternal life, when we take step into that life, then what we have gained in this world, we will go back empty-handed. then our life will be like that person. He was a snake charmer, and he would go place to place and he would entertain people with his acrobatic team. And in his team was a snake, a monkey, and a goat. And he would go place to place and he would entertain people. One day he was traveling from one place to the other. And in the path there was a river that he had to cross. The water wasn't too high, but the current was very strong. So he took the snake basket and he placed it on his head. He placed the monkey on his shoulder, and he took a good hold of his goat and guided the goat. And he was very cautiously taking each step while crossing the river. When he reached the middle of the river, the current was so strong, it was gonna take the goat with it. So the person took a strong hold on his goat. The monkey sitting on his shoulder by nature is mischievous. It wanted to play a game. So what the monkey did, it opened up the basket of the snake. In that darkness, when the snake sprung up his head and with his tongue sticking out made the hissing noise, the monkey got scared and fell off the shoulder of the person. The person tried to grab hold of the monkey, lost his balance, and the basket of snake fell also in the water. In a split second, when he tried to grab the basket, he let go of the goat, and the goat was also taken away with the current. In few seconds, he has lost the whole team. In few seconds, all his companions, all his livelihood resources, they were taken away, and he sat on the other side of the bank crying and suffering in that pain of loss. Life is just like that river, is flowing and its current is very strong. If we are not careful and if we don't take every step with cautiousness, sometimes things are lost, we lose companions, and we suffer with great pain in our heart and life. And at the end, when we do cross this life, when we do cross this river, at the end, all that we have gathered in life, all the relations that we have built in our life, all the time that we have spent gathering the treasures, everything is lost, and we sit empty-handed, and it's time to leave this world. It's time for the soul to depart from this physical body, and we gain nothing. We leave this world empty-handed with the regret and agony and pain in our hearts and minds. That is why Christ tells his apostles, don't store yourselves treasures on earth, where moth and rust can destroy it, where thieves can break in and steal it, but store your treasures in heaven, where no rust and moth can destroy it, and where no thieves can break in and steal it. When we live in this world and gather the treasures of God's name and treasures of good deeds, those treasures, they will go with us even when we cross that river. They are not lost in the river, but they will remain with us even after we cross the river. Some time back, I went out to get into my car, and I see this person, elderly gentleman, standing on a road going back and forth. He seemed lost. When I paid good attention, I saw that He was bleeding from his head, his forehead, and he was bleeding from his hand as well. I went close to him and I asked him if he needed any help. And when I asked him, I found out that he's lost. He didn't know where he was going. He didn't know his own address. And he left and walked far away from his home. And on the way, he fell and he hurt his head. He fell, he hurt his hand. So I took him, I had Band-Aid in my car. I put Band-Aid on his forehead and on his hand. And I asked him where he lived. And he could not remember his own address. I asked him if he knows anyone I can call. He said, I only remember my son's phone number. But please don't call him because he lives in another state. He's going to be very mad and he's going to yell at me. So I asked him, then where should I take you? How do I take you home? If you have any ID or your wallet. So he took out some papers and on his medical card, his address was there. So I took him in my car and I drove him to his house. And on the way, I was speaking to him, talking to him, and I found out that he was a great engineer, worked in New York City, and he managed the railroads and the roads in New York City. And he had achieved great things in his life. He had spent all of his life taking care of his children, making house and gathering the knowledge, all the knowledge that he could in his life. But he came to a point where he could not even remember his own address. The children that he spent all his life for, they live in other states, they're living their own lives. And he's all alone. And the knowledge and the wisdom and the memories that he had, they are already being lost. Now imagine when we do leave this world. This is the condition while we're living. We lose all of that knowledge that we gain with this intellect and with the mind is lost here. Then what knowledge will go with us when we leave this world? That is why when we meditate, what do? We close down, we shut down the senses, and we try to go beyond the intellect and beyond the mind and gain the knowledge in that internal spiritual world where we can evolve, where we can explore God's world and gain the wisdom and gain the experience, and that experience will not be lost. That experience, that wisdom, that knowledge will not be lost even when we leave this world, even when this body do not exist anymore. That knowledge will remain with the soul. So my dear friends, judge your life. This is end of the year. What have you gained in a whole year? Even in this year, we have realized money, knowledge, friends, anything in the world, it doesn't matter when you are all alone, sitting alone in your homes. At that time, only thing matter what you have gathered inside. The wisdom that you have, the strength, the willpower, the understanding of life that you have, only that can help you. So, at the end of the year, let us judge our lives. Let us reflect what we have gained in life. If we have gone beyond the mind and the senses and the intellect and gathered the wisdom and the knowledge there, have we stored up the treasures in heaven like the Christ have said? And not only Christ, other saints and in other scriptures, it is said exact same thing. ऐसा हर तन संचिए पाए, पा नहीं जाले, जल नहीं डूबे, संग छोड़कर कतहु न जाए. Meaning, gather the wealth of God's name, which will not be destroyed in fire or drowned in water, but will always remain with you, because your life is not limited to this physical world and to this physical body. your life is eternal. And that knowledge, that wealth will go with us. Let us listen to the guidance, listen to the words of saints and sages, and live our life according to their words, and explore God's creation, explore and utilize the potential that we were given when we came in this world as human beings, and experience the inner realms, experience the divine and the spiritual world that exists right inside of this body and heart, and see what this life has to offer, what God has to offer, and explore and evolve at a higher rate and gain as much as possible in this life and take it with us when we eventually leave this world. So, dear friends, meditate, shut down these senses and go beyond the limitation of the mind and intellect, so we may gain the greatest heights of spirituality in this life. Keep meditating, continue meditating, keep doing good deeds, keep contemplating on good thoughts, keep gaining the inspiration, and keep directing yourselves towards your goal. Thank you for joining in, and until next time, God bless.